China hosted a massive military parade to mark the end of World War II. Zelensky is making demands of the CCP, and Putin and Xi are taking villainy to a whole nother level. And more on this week's China News Headlines. Welcome to China Uncensored. I'm Chris Chappell. This episode is sponsored by Surfshark. Whenever you go online, you really should be using a VPN like Surfshark to cover your tracks and protect your identity. I'll tell you more in a bit. On Wednesday, China celebrated the 80th anniversary of the end of the World Anti-Fascist War, or as we call it, World War II. The Chinese Communist Party honored this event in the best way possible by realizing they've become just like the authoritarians the world battled and vowing to let democracy reign. I'm just kidding. They honored the occasion with a grand military parade to showcase their power, including new military equipment, such as various unmanned vehicles and nuclear weapons. That ain't just the heat wave making you sweat. And can I just say, I think the rumors that Xi has been purged or is dead may not have been accurate. All this to celebrate the CCP's glorious victory over the Japanese during World War II. There's just one teensy tiny problem. The CCP didn't defeat the Japanese in World War II. The Chinese nationalists did, with a healthy helping of help from the United States. Don't you hate it when you do all the work on a project and somebody else takes all the credit? Even President Trump weighed in on the farce, saying, "The big question to be answered is whether or not President Xi of China will mention the massive amount of support and blood that the United States of America gave to China." Concluding with, "Please give my warmest regards to Vladimir Putin and Kim Jong-un as you conspire against the United States of America." Wow! Could you imagine Biden saying that? Or even better, Blinken's reaction if he had. So who attended these lavish festivities? Well, the guests of honor were none other than Russian leader Vladimir Putin and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. Because the best way to commemorate the end of the Second World War is by gathering everyone who wants to start the Third. Oh, and for good measure, former Australian Labour Premier Dan Andrews was also there, standing just a yard back from Kim Jong-un. I'd say someone needs to be investigated. But the quote-unquote wonderful people of China were not actually getting much out of the celebrations because although the parade was meant to commemorate the Chinese people's resistance against Japanese aggression, it was closed off to the Chinese people. Perhaps out of fear that they'd resist against a different kind of aggression. Speaking of, can I just say how nice it is to see tanks going through Beijing and no student protesters getting crushed or shot? But as the people of China enjoyed the festivities from outside the parade, inside something insidious was happening. Xi and Putin were overheard talking about organ transplants and immortality. What's that saying? The bad ones always live longest? It looks like these two want to make that a reality. It's like Pinky and the Brain if they were into organ harvesting and genocidal war crimes. Honestly, I'd watch that gritty reboot. Meanwhile, according to a report in Kyodo News, Japan asked other countries to avoid WW2 anniversary events in China, using its embassies abroad to convey that China's commemorative events have anti-Japanese overtones and that the participation of leaders should be carefully considered. I don't think Australia got the memo. Now, this request is understandable since the Chinese Communist Party has been fomenting anti-Japanese sentiment in the country, and there have been attacks on Japanese citizens in China with some tragic fatalities. But hey, Imperial Japan did horrible things to the Chinese during World War II, so clearly anything the CCP does today is justified. And after the break, if China takes all this military might and invades Taiwan, the Philippines are getting pulled in. Welcome back. Here's something we've never seen the CCP do before. China is protesting the Taiwanese foreign minister's visit to the Philippines. The foreign minister was reportedly there for reasons unrelated to his political office, along with a high-level delegation of investors and business executives in important areas like semiconductors. China's Foreign Affairs Ministry said that by allowing Lin to visit, the Philippines has provided a platform for Taiwan independent separatists to engage in anti-China activities, aka existing. You know you're on the wrong side of a debate when your argument falls apart when the other side shows up and says hi. China also accused the Philippines of violating its own policies. Technically, the Philippines doesn't recognize Taiwanese independence, but it has been tightening relations with the island, especially since the CCP just loves to bully the both of them. Nothing brings people together like bonding over having the same crazy neighbor. The CCP has warned that the Philippines is crossing China's red lines and will pay a price. If they don't get in line, China might just have to crash 3 of their own boats into each other. Speaking of which, the Philippine military is opening a new base in the Luzon Strait, right near Taiwan. This is a very strategic waterway, and the Philippines says the new base will help boost its defense and surveillance operations. Because of U.S. military bases in the Philippines, should China invade Taiwan, the Philippines would become a target. The Philippine Chief of Staff of the Armed Forces told troops back in April that they should plan for actions in case there is an invasion of Taiwan. He also reiterated that he thinks his country would inevitably be drawn into such a war. So hopefully this base will make China think twice about attacking. But top CCP officials got to get their organs from somewhere. They've already killed so many Falun Gong practitioners and Uyghurs. They don't have a problem with that, they're just running out and need a new supply. And seriously, Taiwan is next. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has issued China a demand after Russia's latest deadly strikes on Kiev, stating in an X post, "We expect a reaction from China to what is going on." China has repeatedly called for not expanding the war and for a ceasefire. Yet this is not happening because of Russia. There are multiple posts, but the most recent one includes videos of firefighters putting out fires at a destroyed apartment building. According to Newsweek, Zelensky initially claimed that recent Russian airstrikes on Kiev had killed at least 14 people, 3 of them children. But the most recent post states that at least 8 people were killed, including 1 child. China did respond, with Foreign Ministry spokesman Guo Jiankun saying, "We call on all parties concerned to abide by the 3 principles of no spillover from the battlefield, no escalation of hostilities, and no fanning the flames," which I don't think is quite the reaction Zelensky was looking for, but honestly what he was looking for is wishful thinking at best. And unsurprisingly, China has rejected joining Trump-proposed denuclearization talks with the US and Russia. Not long ago, Trump said, "I think denuclearization is a big aim, but Russia's willing to do it, and I think China is going to be willing to do it too." There's a lot of wishful thinking today, I see. A spokesperson with China's Foreign Ministry said that it was neither reasonable nor realistic to expect Beijing to participate in these discussions. You know, this might be the first time I can think of that the Chinese Communist Party has been unwilling to engage in meaningless, unproductive talks. The spokesperson then proceeded to claim that because the U.S. has a much bigger arsenal, the responsibility is on the White House to denuclearize. And there's even more wishful thinking. China also says that while it is for denuclearization, its own capabilities are at the minimal level and that it isn't engaged in an arms race with anyone. They're just stockpiling nuclear warheads faster than anyone for the love of the game. And did you know that every time you go online, everything you do is potentially compromised? That's why the people at Surfshark created a VPN that keeps your internet activity private and secure. If you're not taking active steps to protect yourself, everything you do is being tracked and logged by the websites you visit, your internet service provider, and often by your own government. Using a VPN makes you harder to track. Surfshark has servers you can connect to in over 100 countries, more than any other VPN. That includes a server in the British Virgin Islands where the law allows companies to not log user data. So stay safe and check out Surfshark. With just one Surfshark account, you can connect as many devices as you want. It also comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee. So go to surfshark.com/uncensored and use the code uncensored to get up to 4 months extra. The link is in the description below. Once again, I'm Chris Chappell. See you next time.